All right, welcome back into the podcast. So we are going behind enemy lines here. This is the third time this gentleman has been on the podcast, and I appreciate it every time, despite the differences that we and other Bears fans may have with him on Twitter. He is at Peter_Bukowski, at Locked On Packers as well. That's the podcast. He's covering the Packers regularly, and he joins me now. Peter, Bill Zimmerman, how you doing?
I'm good, Bill. I'm glad to be back. And I'm glad that no one remembered that I said I would take Justin Fields over Jordan Love the last time we spoke. I'm glad no one remembered that that's a thing that I said.
That is a thing you said, and I will happily bring that back up because I have a feeling, despite no games being played other than preseason games, you have pivoted 180 degrees from that statement last December. But we will get into that here in a second. But I want to start off with kind of your content and what you're outside of Twitter and what you're doing with Locked On Packers, because I saw that you just had Kay Adams on. And correct me if I'm wrong, but she came on basically because of your Justin Fields trolling. Is that correct?
Well, she didn't come on because of my Justin Fields trolling, but she saw it. So she had some things to say about it. And I was glad that she did because, you know, she is a Chicago girl at heart and I think takes some heat from Bears fans because she's been cozy with Aaron Rodgers. She's done a number of interviews with him. And because she has family that are Packer fans, she loves her family and supports her family. I think her niece is a big Packers fan. And so people get mad that she is critical of the Bears and seems to have this, you know, other kind of relationship with the Packers. It seems silly to me that they would be mad about that, but that's true. She comes on though, and gets after me about my Justin Fields takes, does not think I'm being fair to him and was really pointed about it. And I appreciated that because again, she doesn't normally wear her Bears fan hat that often. And I'm glad that she did. I was hoping she would.
Yeah, and look, and you're right. She doesn't wear the Bears fan hat, and you are 100% correct. The Bears fans have been going after her a good amount lately, and yeah, it's because she's criticized the Bears, and like you mentioned, the Aaron Rodgers thing. And look, I'm certainly not going to hold any Bears fan in the media if they're going to be critical of this team, because, you know, if I'm being honest, this team deserves a lot of criticism over the last 15 years, 20 years. They haven't had a ton of success outside of that first run with Lovey, since then. So you have to be, if you're going to be objective, you have to be critical. You can't just continually drink the Kool-Aid. But the one thing
I do think it's important though to also point out, it does seem like there is a double standard for someone like her and let's say Kyle Brandt. And I don't know why that is. I have some thoughts. I have some theories on why that might be, but I don't think Bears fans necessarily have the same energy when Kyle Brandt has Aaron Rodgers on his podcast and thinks that he's the best and talks about how he's the best. It doesn't seem like they have the same sort of time and energy to go after Kyle than they do Kay. I just think that's worth pointing out.
I'd have to dive into that a little bit more. I do agree that Kyle is cozier with the fan base than Kay is. I mean, but then there's, other guys on NFL Network like Adam Rank, who is very cozy with the fan base.
In the tank.
Because he loves his Bears and just will not criticize them. So you get all different kind of ranges within the media. But the one thing I did hear Kay say on your podcast is that the Bears fan base is unhinged. And here's the one thing I will say. I'm going to disagree with that. Now, there is a section of the Bears fan base that is unhinged. All they care about is the Packers. I still think there's that group of fans where you say 15-2 and you lose to the Packers twice, or 2-15, but you beat the Packers twice. I still think there's a group of fans that think that way, and that this rivalry means that much, and you can't criticize the team, and everyone we have is going to be, our 5th round pick is a future All-Pro, but the Packers' 1st round pick is a bust before either of them have ever played. There's a section of that fan, but I think that's in a lot of different fan bases. I don't think there's too many fan bases that are pretty objective all the time. But the one thing I'll say about the unhinged fan parts of those fan bases, it's kind of like the unhinged parts of political parties. They're the loudest. So you're going to hear them a lot more than you're going to hear the guys going, look, Fields, he may be an MVP. He may be, someone who's bouncing from team to team, or he may be somewhere in the middle like Kyler Murray. There are Bears fans that say things like that, but you only hear the ones that say Fields has already arrived. He's a top 5 quarterback. And that's where, it gives the rest of us kind of that label.
Dave Chappelle had a great joke about Twitter not being a real place, and I'm not going to paraphrase it, but the heart of it is just that Twitter's not a real place, and we have to remember that sometimes. That yes, there are some loud, unhinged Bears fans on Twitter. All of them are in my mentions for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
And so, well,
why they're not
no, we know why. We know why. But so I get a disproportionate view of what Bears fans on Twitter look like, right? If you're someone like Kevin Fishbane, who just covers the team down the middle, beat reporter, that's it. And I don't mean to disparage it. It's not that's it, but like that's where he keeps his focus, right?
Sure.
He probably has a lot fewer people in his mentions going, oh, and yelling expletives, right? So it's just I do a different thing than he does. And so that's okay. I signed up for that. And that's part of the fun. And I said this on your show last time, like, I like the back and forth. I like the rivalry. And yeah, I do sometimes say things just to poke the bear, literally and metaphorically. I know, because it's easy to rile up Bears fans, that if I just like say anything with the word Justin Fields in it, I'm going to get a bunch of Bears fans mad at me about it. Now, that doesn't mean I say things that I don't believe, because I don't do that. But sometimes, like I had a tweet the other day, I'll give you an example, that all three starting cornerbacks from the Packers have an interception off Justin Fields. Do I think that means anything? No. Did I think it would get some Bears fans mad on Twitter? Yes. So it's true that is accurate, but does it mean anything? No. It's there so that we can have a fun back and forth about it. Sometimes it's more fun than other times, for sure. But I do genuinely like the rivalry, especially when people keep it like relatively civil. I try to do that in most cases, just from like my end. I told Kay, like, the Justin Fields thing is not personal. I have nothing against Justin Fields personally. What I have been pushing back more than anything, I think, and we don't have to get into the Justin Fields thing right now if you don't want to, but it's the thing that I have such a problem with is the anointing of Fields before he ever played a game. And that was loud on Bears Twitter. It was in the media. It was, this is the guy. This is the savior. This is the guy who will change everything. And even this offseason, oh, Justin Fields, this is the MVP season. He could be this and this and this. And some of it, I think, is fantasy football driven, because he's such an explosive running quarterback. Like, he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback all day, no doubt. But much like Twitter, fantasy football is not real. Fantasy is right in the name. So I think if he wasn't gassed up the way that he is, and it's not just Bears fans, it's national media too. I think Packer fans, and I'll just speak for myself, I would push back less on it if that hadn't been the narrative coming out. Like Mitch Trubisky, I didn't say anything about Mitch Trubisky until like year 2 or year 3, because in year 1 he was trash. Why would I talk smack about Mitch Trubisky? He sucked, and everyone knew he sucked. Bears fans knew he sucked. It wasn't until year 2, Matt Nagy comes in, changes everything, that Bears fans start to gas him up, and then it changes, and then I feel like I have to push back.
All right. So since you brought up Fields, let's dive into Fields here a little bit. And obviously we're going to get into Jordan Love. We've got a little wager we've got to discuss here as well coming up here. But let's talk about Fields. And I think this is what's happening, and this is what's fair with Justin Fields, is that, well, first of all, when you get to the draft and you talk about the fact that for the entire college season, it was Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields 2, like the entire year. And then for whatever reason, people started falling in love with Trey Lance and Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. And all of a sudden, Fields is the guy that just starts tumbling down. I mean, we heard that Mac Jones might go as high as 3, but they decided to go with Trey Lance. So I think what happened is Bears fans who are desperate for a quarterback, who just invested into a quarterback that went woefully wrong, for 4 years, because Ryan Pace refused to pivot off him after 2019, when it was clear at that point that he was not going to be the guy. And Bears fans suffered through a couple more years of that, and then turn around, trade up, get Justin Fields, who a lot of people thought was the second best quarterback. Yep. So yeah, Bears fans pushed it. And the media also, there were plenty of media guys that also thought Justin Fields should have been the second quarterback taken.
Right.
And here he had fallen all the way down to 11. And that starts the buzz. And of course, the rookie season is a complete train wreck for multiple reasons. Last year was odd in a lot of ways, because Justin Fields took things into his own hands, had some explosive games, and struggled a lot more in the passing game. But I don't think that was completely his fault. There were certain things he missed. Absolutely. I'm not going to sit there and say he was perfect. But when you have a woeful offensive line, when you have, EQ St. Brown literally as the top target for multiple games. Like he was once, Chase Claypool was out of the mix. Darnell Mooney was hurt. St. Brown became like the number one option for him. You can't have that, Peter. He was on your team. You understand who he is. So there were things playing against him. Now, I will say this, coming into this year, and this has kind of been my premise with this Packers game, is there's no more excuses. There's no Aaron Rodgers. Justin Fields has an excellent, group of wide receivers and tight ends. I still don't love the offensive line. We can get into that if you want. But the excuses are gone, and we're going to truly find out this season who Justin Fields is. And he's going to either be going in the right direction, or if he's stalling in neutral or going backwards, then the Bears have another problem at quarterback.
So let me just make my case, right, for why I need to see more from Justin Fields, because I think everything that you said is true. Like, it is the case that he was not set up to succeed last year. I think there is some signal there. I think Ryan Poles and this administration, this new coaching staff, came in not sold on Justin Fields.
Agreed.
And so they did not surround him with pieces. And I think it's also the case that they thought the best thing for the long-term health of this team is to not go spend money on Sammy Watkins or some of the players that they signed this past offseason, someone like Big Bob Tunyon, who my audience knows well. But then this year, okay, you see some development. You see, I think the run game, like if he doesn't run for 1,000 yards, I don't think they have the offseason that they do. If he runs for 400 yards, I think he's done. Like, I think the explosiveness on the ground caused them to say, okay, he has this elite trait, and he does. There's no question about it. Let's see if we can help him with this other stuff and then get to where he can get to from a tools standpoint, because he has physical ability, no question about it. I don't think he was in the worst circumstances in the history of the NFL, though. I don't think that that's true. And so when you look at some of the numbers and the lack of just attempts, like I think the coach not calling more passes, even though you're losing every game, is part of the signal here. I think the fact that he is one of the least productive quarterbacks of the modern era through 25 starts is a signal here. I think that's part of the problem. And when you look at some of the reasons for it, it's stuff that goes back to his college career, the pocket awareness, feel. Robert Mays, who is a Bears fan, mentioned this on his podcast. I don't know that feel is something that you can really improve. You either do it, you have it, or you don't. And also the quick game was something that he didn't really do well at Ohio State. He wants to push the ball vertically. I think an offense that suits him is something closer to like what Bruce Arians was running. Like, let's just chuck and duck. Let's just push the ball down the field. Forget this under center play action boot stuff. Let's just get in the gun and throw it deep 30 times a game. Like, I actually think that would be the best way to use Justin Fields. I've made this case to other people. I was talking to Carmen Vitale about this. Like, I think that's the way to use him. I don't think it's Jalen Hurts. I think it's like something closer to what Cam Newton was. Remember, go back to 2015. That offense was Cam running and taking deep shots to Ted Ginn and Devin Funchess and then Greg Olsen over the middle of the field. Why can't that be the offense? If I were in charge of a Justin Fields offense, that's what I would be doing. We'll see if that's what they do this year. But some of the intractable problems go back to college, and that's why I have an issue with going, his ceiling is still superstar. I don't know that his ceiling is superstar. And I think that there's clear reasons for skepticism there.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think the Bears, he's definitely, like you're talking about the deep game, he's definitely a big play hunter. Absolutely. I don't think that's ever going
to lean into it. I'm all about that.
But he didn't have the ability to check down and take 6 yards when he had to. And that was the issue. So if he needed to do that, he usually just tried to run for it. And that's where he needed to get a little more nuance within his game. And was it play calling? Was it Fields not seeing the field? Was it, the players literally not even being able to get open because they were so poor? I think it might be a little bit from every column. So I think that's what we're going to see. He trusts Cole Kmet. He trusts Darnell Mooney. He's already got great chemistry with DJ Moore. Chase Claypool has to be better. Tanyan, he'll provide something. He's got, a couple running backs who can get out in the flat and get him 5-6 yards. He's got those pieces now. If the offensive line isn't great, he's going to have to adjust. That's it, plain and simple. He's got enough weapons to throw to now. If he has to create an extra second or two to throw because, the left side of the line can't hold up on pass blocking or whatever it might be, that's how it's going to be. So he's at a point now where he's got enough around him. He has to overcome it. So I think that's where we are this year with him. That's why this is a huge year. And I think that's why a lot of Bears fans are nervous and they're starting to chirp. So, and of course, the guy they're chirping about the most is Jordan Love. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about Jordan Love. I don't want to spend this entire podcast on Fields because Jordan Love, it's really hard to know what you have with Jordan Love because of the fact that he just hasn't played in regular season games. He's been out there a few times, made a couple plays, looked pretty vanilla for the most part from what I could see. Now, he had a pretty good preseason, but we also know preseason defenses are vanilla. They're not going to hide. They're not going to do a lot of crazy things. They don't want to give anything away in that preseason film. They keep things pretty, straightforward. And Love was able to handle that for the most part. Couple errant throws that really made their way around Bears Twitter.
Yeah.
But so I'll ask you this with Jordan Love. If Jordan Love succeeds this year, it's because of what? And if Jordan Love fails this year, it's because of what?
I think if he succeeds, it's because he takes what the defense gives him. I think when he has had issues in the past, and you look at his last year at Utah State, he tried to be a hero a little too much. He tried to do a little bit of what Justin Fields does with his legs, but did it with his arm. And he's got some arm arrogance. He's got that sort of Josh Allen, I can make this throw, so let me make this throw kind of part of his game. A little, dare I say, Jay Cutler-ish at times in that last year at Utah State. And look, he like Jay Cutler can make those throws. That's part of the thing, is he can make those high level plays, especially in the middle of the field. What he's done a really good job of this year is avoiding the mistakes. Okay, I'm going to get to the top of my drop. If I don't like it where I want to go with the ball, it's out to a running back. They ran a four verts concept against the Patriots. The Patriots bailed Tampa 2, middle of the field, wide open. They had built into the concept a little chip release for Luke Musgrave. He gets 10 yards because Musgrave has unique physical tools for a player his size. So that's part of the game here. If he can avoid the negative plays, this offensive line is elite. One of the 5 best offensive lines in the league, especially as a pass blocking group. They're one of the 5 best running groups in the game. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, they have been a terrific running game forever. This is basically for as long as Aaron Jones has been there. Aaron Jones, a top 5 all-time back in yards per carry. They were top 5 in efficiency last year. I think they were 3rd in success rate and 9th in EPA per rush. So they have that as a baseline. When you have a good offensive line that can protect, a good running game, and they're young at the skill positions, no question about that, but they have a ton of speed. Christian Watson is a 4.3 guy. Romeo Doubs is a low 4.4s guy. Jaden Reed, according to, I think he officially ran in the 4.4s. Packers had him, maybe it was at his pro day at 4.39, according to them. Luke Musgrave ran 4.61, but at 250. And there was a day in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, he was the fastest player on the field. There was a day in training camp practice for the Packers. Luke Musgrave, by their GPS tracking, was the fastest pass catcher that they have. Christian Watson's on the team. He runs 4.3s, and Luke Musgrave was the fastest guy on the field catching passes for them. So I think that's the optimistic case here. If it goes wrong, I think the flip side of that is he tries to do too much. He tries to throw too often into coverage. He sees the game pretty well. He gets 1 to 2 to 3 in a hurry. And the coaches have raved about his development in those areas, reading out coverages and making quick decisions. We saw it in the Eagles game. Ollie Connolly from the Read Optional wrote this great piece on Jordan Love, where he talked to some people in Green Bay, talked to Steve Calhoun, Jordan Love's personal quarterback coach. And after the Chiefs game, Jordan Love was pissed about how he played. And it fueled him. And he's not a fiery guy. He's a very laid back California cool guy. But he has this side of him that when the lights come on, he's got this competitive fire. And that was new information to us as outsiders who don't know Jordan Love. And so I think he is someone who is really talented and he works really hard. And there's this great line from Mike Smith, who used to be the Packers outside linebackers coach. It was about Rashawn Gary, and it was, give me someone with talent and a work ethic, and I'll show you a really good player, because those are the guys that succeed. If you want to work hard and you have talent, you can be a really good player in the NFL. And I think that's where Jordan Love is. And that's what Justin Fields has to be. He's got to work on the things that he struggles with. And if he does, he's talented. Both of these guys are.
All right. You brought up Jay Cutler. So let me ask you this, because the way I see it, Jordan Love has 1 year to prove he's the guy. That's it. He doesn't get 2 years. He doesn't get 3 years. That's my opinion, because if you're the Green Bay Packers, if he struggles a little bit this year, but shows flashes, and if he struggles a little bit and you go, let's say 5-12, 6-11, you're sitting there with that 9th, 10th pick. There are enough quarterbacks in this that are going to be coming out of this draft beyond Caleb and Drake May that the Green Bay Packers are going to be in a position to pick up a really good quarterback. But if you're like on the fence with Love, the Bears passing on the number 1 pick this year, I mean, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they're good prospects, but they're not Caleb Williams, right? They're not, Drake May. I don't think anyone puts them in those categories. I think there's other quarterbacks here that look like they're going to emerge. So to me, if Jordan Love is Jay Cutler-esque, as a Bears fan, that's the best case scenario for me. And here's why. Because the Packers have been basically going 12-4, 12-5, 11-5, 11-6 for 20 years with Aaron Rodgers and in the playoffs every year. With Jay Cutler type production, and Packers fans aren't used to this. They've had 32 straight years of Favre and Rodgers. You've got to build a really good team around a Jay Cutler type to compete. And that isn't even a guarantee that you can win with that type of quarterback. So for me, that gives an opportunity for Jordan Love to be good enough to commit to, but not necessarily good enough to win with. And it may put the Packers in purgatory. So for me, that's the best case scenario, is that he's Jay Cutler-esque. If he's worse, they're probably going to move on. And if he's better, that's a problem because they're going to win too much. So if Jordan Love is Jay Cutler-esque, is that enough for you? And if he's not, would you want to take a quarterback next year?
It depends on what Jay Cutler-esque in this case means for the team. So is he making high-level plays and creating for them and throwing some interceptions? Okay. Like if he throws 25 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, let's say.
That's a Jay Cutler season. Yep.
That's a Jay Cutler season, right? I think he gets another year. Now, this is a loaded quarterback class. We see that in week 1 of college football. Who knows what's going to happen? Someone's going to tear their ACL. Someone is going to get hurt. Someone is going to want to transfer. Something is going to happen. The season's not going to go the way that they want, and they're going to go back to school. Someone else is going to go back to school, and suddenly this quarterback class is not going to look the same. I don't think anyone, unless Caleb Williams says, I don't want to go there, no one's trading the pick for Caleb Williams. They're taking Caleb Williams. And so then it becomes, okay, what does the next group of quarterbacks look like? How many are there? All that stuff. I do think that matters. I agree with you that the worst case scenario for the Packers is, which is also the best case scenario for the Bears, is that Jordan Love has a sort of Daniel Jones type season from last year. I actually think that's so and I think Jay Cutler is in that realm of outcomes. It's not Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones didn't put the ball in harm's way, but you come out of the season going, I don't really know what to make of that. And so if he has a Jay Cutler season and they go 9-8, he'll get another season. If he's a Jay Cutler season and they go 6-11, then you start to have that discussion, because if they go 6-11, maybe they have the 8th pick, and maybe they have the Jets, and the Jets, let's say things go weird for them and they have the 14th pick. And now you have 2 top 15 picks plus a future first that you can move up and you can get Drake May, or you can get one of these the third quarterback in this draft. Who knows? Might be awesome. And so that's where it starts to get complicated. I think Jordan Love is going to get 2 seasons almost regardless. I think that they've set this up so that they need to see development. They need to see the high-end outcomes here. They need to see the vision. Can we envision this guy growing and becoming our franchise quarterback? If the answer is yes, he gets another year, even if it's not perfect. If the answer is no, then you have to move on. And I think the Bears, frankly, are in a similar position. Like Justin Fields, except last year was the I showed flashes year for Justin Fields. This is it's me. I'm the guy that can do this. He has to show that additional jump, that the Jordan Love, let's say in year 2, that's what Justin Fields has to show, which is why I think, and speaking of Kyle Brandt, he said this, that's why there's so much pressure on Justin Fields this year, because he has to show it this year.
This is his year.
Or now they have to figure this out at the quarterback position. What they're hoping is they put the offense around him. They added DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert. They put in what looks like an incredible screen game, if the preseason has anything to project to the regular season. And so that'll be interesting to see. What if a bunch of the offense in the passing game for the Bears or the Packers is the other guys? How do you parse that? How do you evaluate that? And I think that's like, frankly, if I were the Giants, I would have said Daniel Jones. No, too much of this was Brian Daboll being an awesome coach and Saquon Barkley being Saquon Barkley. That's it. I don't think Daniel Jones is special. I wouldn't have given him $140 million. That's just me. They're going to have to figure that out. And that's going to be the interesting question all season long to follow with these two teams. How much are you driving the bus and how much are you a passenger on the bus? And that's going to be what ultimately determines the future of these two quarterbacks.
I can't argue with that statement, so I won't. But before we get to the bet, I just want to ask you one last thing, and that's Matt LaFleur, because I'm curious where Packers fans and where Packers media is on LaFleur, because I'll bring up Luke Getsy. I know it's head coach, but same thing. We're talking offenses. So with Luke Getsy, I think Bears fans are on the fence right now. I think they liked what they saw. They liked it more than what Nagy and his group of offensive coordinators put together. So they liked it. It's an improvement. But there's still some philosophical questions and some things there that, and again, was that due to personnel? Was that due to, limitations? We'll find out this year. So it's also a big year for Luke Getsy. Matt LaFleur comes into a season where he does not have Aaron Rodgers. And that cannot be understated because Aaron Rodgers, as we know, was an additional offensive coach out on the field. Is everyone comfortable with LaFleur, or is this a prove-it year for LaFleur as well?
No, they will move on from Jordan Love before they move on from Matt LaFleur. It will not be Matt LaFleur's fault if Jordan Love does not succeed this year. That being said, I think Matt LaFleur, and I've said this on Locked On Packers, has the chance to elevate himself in the coaching ranks, if you will, or just the narrative around him. He has the chance to elevate it this season, because if Jordan Love goes out and is good, forget awesome, just good, then all of the, well, he has Aaron Rodgers, we don't know how good a coach he is, stuff goes out the window.
Agreed.
And if you go back and look, he actually quietly has a ton of pedigree with coaches. He was the quarterback's coach for Robert Griffin when he was the rookie offensive coordinator. And then you go to LA. He was, well, before you go to LA, in Atlanta, he was the quarterback's coach for Matt Ryan when he was the MVP. Then he goes to LA and with Sean McVay turns Jared Goff from the worst quarterback we've ever seen into a Pro Bowl caliber player. And so you can say, okay, he has Sean McVay in LA. He has Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta, and then Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan in Washington. But then he comes to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers had not had a 13-win season since 2011. And they have 3 in a row. He had not won an MVP since 2014. He wins back to back. At a certain point, you can't say, oh, it was everyone else, when all he does is goes and has success as a coach. And the worst, quote unquote, worst season that he had as a coordinator was when he had an average offense with Marcus Mariota, who had no working nerves in his right elbow, in his throwing elbow. And it was the best completion percentage Marcus Mariota has ever had since. He's been a worse player ever since Matt LaFleur left. So I think Matt LaFleur with Jordan Love has a chance to go, no, I'm driving the bus. This is my team. This is my offense with Jordan Love. And I am one of the best schemers. I know I'm not the shiny new object, but I'm just as good, if not better, than Mike McDaniel. I know that I haven't won in the postseason the way Kyle Shanahan is, but I'm as good as Kyle Shanahan as an offensive mind. Now, who knows? I don't know if he is actually, but this is his opportunity to show that he can be in that conversation. I think he should have won Coach of the Year in 2019. I said that at the time. I think it's still true. I thought he should have won Coach of the Year in 2021. This is the year for him. If the Packers win 10 games and Jordan Love looks good, I think he should win Coach of the Year. And he will cement himself as a top 5, top 8 coach in the NFL, or at least an offensive mind, because this team was in shambles. Like, Bill, I think it's easy to miss if you were a Bears fan because you were just enjoying it, how toxic Green Bay had gotten by the end of the Mike McCarthy era. That 2018 season was a disaster. And
that article that came out was pretty eye-opening.
There were a couple articles that came out about how dysfunctional things were there. And Matt LaFleur, even Aaron Rodgers credited Matt LaFleur in a veteran-laden team, completely changed the culture. Billy Turner came on my show and talked about it unprompted. Said Matt LaFleur walked in day one and said, you guys have been doing it a certain way here. You're going to do it my way now. And everyone in the room was bought in from that first meeting. That takes a lot. Like, these guys, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but
Go ahead.
You're like, you can't bullshit these guys. They have been bullshitted their entire lives by coaches and assistant coaches. You know, like all they hear is bullshit and these cliched things. And Matt LaFleur has that sort of magnetism that he can do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Matt LaFleur does when he gets to hold the reins a little bit tighter. I think this is what he was brought in to do, to be a teacher. And I think it's really going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what makes this game in these seasons for both teams so compelling is I think for the first time in a long time is both fan bases don't really know what they have with their team.
Yeah.
And they're merging here in week one, and there's going to be some serious overreactions with whatever happens here on week one. So let's wrap up with this because, you know, I think a lot of fans saw this because I still am receiving tweets about it, you know, regularly. And that is a little wager that you did agree to on Twitter/X. So I want to kind of go over it and go over the parameters. I don't remember what you tweeted out, but you tweeted out some Justin Fields troll something or other. And it got enough to me. You got me to respond. And I responded. We went back and forth a couple times. And I basically said, all right, put your money where your mouth is. And you said, I'll only do it if it's EPA per play.
Well, I wanted it to be a rate stat, just so we could be fair, because like Justin Fields plays 15 games. He hasn't pleased yet to play a full season. You know, Jordan, I didn't want it to be like a technicality like that, because I don't think that's the spirit of the debate. Like the question isn't who's going to stay healthier, right? So more yards, more like I didn't want to do.
Yeah, I didn't want to say more yards or total touchdowns.
Yeah.
No,
I wanted to be a
and
rate
that's
stat.
fine. So you said EPA per play. I said, all right, let's do it. And here was my suggestion for the wager was I'm not interested in trying to make money off this. I don't think you are either, but I'm always for making monies for charities.
Yeah.
So the winner, you know, Love, obviously you're the winner. Fields, I'm the winner for EPA per play for the full season. If it's Love, a charity of your choice, I donate to. If it's Fields, charity of my choice that you donate to.
Yes.
Plus a admission of love of the other team on Twitter, a video that's posted to your Twitter account professing your love for Justin Fields and the Bears,
Yes.
or me professing my love for Jordan Love and the Packers. So I think the only thing left is exactly how much you want to put down for the charity donation. I suggested $100 to $500. I'm fine anywhere in that mix. 500 is a little steep, but I'll make it happen over the course of a season. So where are you with that? Where do you want to put it?
Look, let's do. Here's what we'll do. Let's do 100, but I'll just say this for me, and I don't want to take the skin out of the bet. But if Justin Fields, if Jordan Love wins, and you have to donate, and we do 100, I'll match 100, just for charity, So you'll win the bet. I'll still do the Twitter, but I just want to, I'll donate as well, just because I think that's important.
All right. Well, how about this then? 200 to 100.
Okay.
Loser donates 100. Cool. Loser donates 200. Winner donates 100.
Let's do it.
So it's a 300 total donation.
Let's do it.
All right. There it is. It's set in stone. Parameters for this year: EPA per play, Love versus Fields, Zimmerman versus Bukowski. Peter, I love it. It's going to be a lot of fun all season long. At Peter_Bukowski. Of course, Locked On Packers. Check out his most recent episode there with Kay Adams defending the Bears. So Bears fans, make sure you check that out. Peter, thanks for the great conversation. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Bill.